Hi guys, and welcome to another video. Now in today's video I've come back to a spot in Northumberland that I've actually photographed in the past, and I think really the whole aim of this video is to actually see if I can improve upon my last compositions and see if I get nicer light. I think it's a beautiful location, but it's one that I don't feel I've done full justice to yet, so I think it is important to keep revisiting locations and to see if I've learned anything along the way really. But what I am doing is I'm taking a camera with me which I've reviewed a couple of times over the last year. And I'm wondering, is it still the best budget camera available for landscape photography at the moment? But you know, I must stress this is not going to be a camera review. I will discuss why I like the camera and why I think it could perhaps be a good candidate for being the best budget mirrorless camera available in the market for landscape photography at the moment. But really, it's more about getting up the hills, having a nice walk and taking some shots. And with that in mind, let's go on a nice walk and explore. I love this location. Now, if you've seen any of my previous videos, you've probably guessed what the camera in question is. And it is, of course, the Panasonic S5 Mark I, the original. Now, at the time of recording this video, this camera and lens combination, which is the 20 to 60mm kit lens, which is a brilliant lens, and it has the added bonus of being 20mm on the widest side, which is fantastic for landscape photography. Now, at the time of recording, this is available for £1,200, which, okay, is not exactly budget. But if we put this into context, the OM Systems OM5, which I also own, with the 12 to 45 f4 Pro lens, is actually £1,300, so that's £100 more. So for £100 less, what you're getting is you're getting a 24 megapixel full frame sensor with an amazing video specs, which I know doesn't appeal to everybody, but if you like shooting video, then really this is head and shoulders better than the OM Systems camera. You're getting a nice rugged body. You're getting dual card slots if you want to shoot professionally, which I've never had a card fail on me, but you know, it's always in the back of your mind, so it is a nice thing to have. But you get something else which a lot of other cameras don't actually have, apart from some certain Panasonic cameras and high-end Fujifilm and Hasselblad cameras. So what I'm going to do is set my tripod up, compose a shot, and then I'll tell you why I think this is an amazing camera for landscape photography. Now, a quick tip, if you're ever using your camera on a tripod and it's a bit breezy and you happen to still have your strap attached, remove it, because what will happen is that little bit of breeze will move your strap, causing camera shake. And you don't want camera shake, do you? Now what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to put these bits around like that. And now it's nicely out of the way. Right, so I've composed a shot. Now I'm shooting at the 20mm side of the lens. 20mm is such a wonderful focal length for landscapes. But that's not the reason why I like this camera so much. Now have a look at this. I've actually fitted a polarizing filter. Now, because I'm not shooting 90 degrees to the sun, if I go to full polarization like that, what you'll see uneven polarization. Basically, it's very polarized here, nice deep blues. But this side is just washed out, really. So the trick when using a wide angle lens and a polarizing is really to be very careful on how much polarization you apply. I'm going to go for that. It's not perfect, but it's still, I think it's quite suitable. Anyway, as I said, it's not the 20mm lens that really makes this a compelling choice for landscape photography. What makes it a compelling choice is the aspect ratios that are available, which you will see across the bottom. So we have 4:3, which is a classic micro four thirds crop, which makes sense as Panasonic do make micro four thirds cameras. We've got 3:2, your standard full frame sensor aspect ratio, 16:9, 1:1 square. You know, most cameras have this, so there's nothing new really to report here. However, we also have the 65:24, which is your classic panoramic film crop. It's the same as the old Hasselblad X-Pan, and it is such an amazing aspect ratio for big vista landscape photography. And I do never tire of it. So now what I can do is literally in camera, I can compose my shot into that panoramic format, which is so much easier than trying to stitch together loads of different shots. I saw somebody say recently that what you can do is like sort of take loads of uprights and stitch them all together and then sort of compose later. Which, okay, you can do, but I'm a bit old school. I like to try and get as close in camera as possible. So that's my composition. The light's still not there really at the moment, but it's pleasant. I'm shooting at f10, which will give me absolutely adequate front to back sharpness. 2 second self timer, 50th of a second, and let's have a look at the shot. So whilst I wait for the light, which to be honest I have my doubts is actually going to happen, I've got a feeling I might be coming back to this location yet again. I was really hoping for some sort of clouds or a bit of light, or both actually is what I was hoping for. I wanted light and clouds, and sometimes you just don't get these things. But anyway, let's talk about what actually makes a camera system really budget. Because to be honest, it's not particularly the camera itself. So whilst the camera body is quite inexpensive, and you can pick them up second hand for about 600, throw in a lens, an extra couple hundred, so say £800, you can get yourself a full frame camera with a 20 to 60mm lens, which is capable of shooting panoramics as well in camera. Also has a nice high res mode, so you can sort of get real nice high resolution files, and it works really well. However, lens choices and the lenses for the Panasonic system actually can be quite expensive. So whilst it's actually cheaper than the OM5, again the base model as such, as soon as you start putting lenses into the equation, the price soon sort of ramps up quite a lot. And before you know it, you're spending a small fortune on lenses. And then of course we can talk about lens size, because it's full frame. And for the Panasonic, most of the lenses actually was fairly small for full frame. They're still quite large, especially compared to micro four thirds. What this ultimately means is that whilst your camera is cheap, your lenses are expensive and your lenses are big and you leave them at home. So if you look into the sort of ratio of how much you spend on your gear and if you're not taking it out, then really it becomes a bit redundant, and it's really not such a good budget option, is it? So for that, I find it hard to really consider the Panasonic S5 the ultimate budget full frame camera. Yes, the camera's cheap, but if we start weighing up price of lenses, it's good value, but I wouldn't say it's exactly cheap. And I think it has to be a lot to said for Micro Four Thirds for that, because you can get loads of lenses and you can get really cheap lenses, or you can get really expensive lenses depending on your budget. And that has to be better than buying into a system where you can't then justify getting these lenses, like macro lenses, just in case. You know, let's take the new Panasonic macro lens. That's $1,000. That's a lot of money if you're only going to shoot macros occasionally. So yeah, I do find it hard to actually consider it a budget system. So don't get me wrong, I do really like the Panasonic S5. I think it's a brilliant landscape photography camera. The fact it's got the panoramic crop, for me, makes it a brilliant camera. However, I don't think it can be really considered a true budget option unless you're happy to just use the 20 to 60mm kit lens, which, to be fair, you could probably do a lot with. Now, whilst we're talking about the Mark 1, I'm going to quickly dip into the Panasonic S5 Mark 2, because the price is coming down on that now, and you could perhaps think that's also another really good option. Now, the reality is I used to own the Mark 2 and the camera didn't do it for me. I think there wasn't enough of an upgrade over the Mark 1 to make it a compelling enough choice. But again, if you're shooting moving subjects, then yes, definitely. But for landscapes, I think the Mark 1 is the way to go. If you are considering buying a Panasonic S5 Mark 1, go for it. It's a brilliant camera and I'm sure you won't be disappointed. But if you are looking at the big scheme of things and you think you want to get loads of lenses and you like to hike, then there just may be more suitable options out there for you. But I think the thing about camera gear is, first of all, there's not really any bad cameras on the market anymore. They all do a very good job. They all have their own little quirks, and they all do some things better than others, and really it's all about what you need. But just keep in mind, if you're buying a camera system, that it's not just about the camera body, it's about everything else that goes with it. Anyway guys, I'm going to end this video here, so thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you again soon for another one. Thanks for watching.